Today, in celebration of a cozy little Valentine's Day, I'm going to show you how to make a really simple and delicious appetizer. It is my Brie and Prosciutto Kisses in puff pastry. Really easy to make, really decadent, very easy just to pop and enjoy. You can put a little fig jam or other jam, hot chili jam if you'd like. That might be the move. And they're perfect if you're having people over, a little Galentine's Day party with your significant other, on your own, whatever it is, they're delicious. And to kick us off with a very effervescent, celebratory vibe, I'm going to show you how to make one of my favorite cocktails. This is the Bubbly Greyhound. It features plume and petal lemon drift, which is naturally infused with botanical and tea and fruit flavors, just a hint of honey for some sweetness, but no artificial sweeteners, which is amazing. And the beautiful part is that the layering of those flavors means that just by adding a splash of fresh grapefruit juice and a little Prosecco to keep it very bubbly, you are going to have a very bespoke, luxurious feeling cocktail. No bartender required. All right, let's make it. And then we can make our Brie bites and then we can enjoy the kickoff to our Valentine's Day celebration. The first step is to juice some fresh grapefruit juice or grab it already juiced if you have that. It is citrus season, so take advantage of it. So plume and petal is a low ABV vodka, which is great because I don't have to worry about it overpowering the other ingredients and elements in this drink, but at the same time, it adds such a nice nuance and delicious flavor profile. So it really does pair beautifully with all different kinds of flavors. But the fresh citrus is one of my personal favorites since I am such a fan of the sweet and sour note. I am just going to quickly juice it into a measuring cup, and all I'm doing is going to use my fork just to squeeze out that lovely fresh citrus juice. Nice and pink. It is Valentine's Day after all. And I do love the sweet and sour note of the grapefruit with ever so slight bitterness, which I think just adds to the overall sippability of our gorgeous Bubbly Greyhound drink. You don't need much here. The plume and petal has so much flavor on its own that this is really just to boost it up and freshen the drink overall. So once you have about a half a cup, which I do here just from the one grapefruit, you can go in and just scoop out any seeds. And if you really don't like having pulp, you can go ahead and strain this juice too, but I kind of like that fresh note, that obvious evidence of it being freshly squeezed. Let's start making our drink. First up, I will add my plume and petal lemon drift. They also have a cucumber splash and a peach wave flavor, both delicious. But this lemon does pair so nicely with fresh citrus. So give yourself a little pour and then go ahead and top that with your fresh grapefruit juice. And then we are just going to make it the Bubbly Greyhound with a bit of Prosecco. Fresh for you. Beautiful. And then when it comes to garnishing your drink, I like to just hint at the flavors of what's to come. So a nice little wedge of lemon or grapefruit works beautifully. You can give yourself just a quarter wedge, but I like this little half moon. Quick slice like so. Dress her up. And then a little trick is to go ahead and get yourself a nice little piece of the outer citrus peel and just twist it over the drink. And the essential grapefruit oils are dispersing all over the surface of your cup so that that essence really hits you when you take your first sip. When I serve this drink, I love to have the fresh citrus wedge here because it just signals the flavors of the drink. But when it comes time to drink, word to the wise, drop it in and use it just to swirl together the delicious flavors inside. Make sure that lemon drift is infused all throughout. So crisp and delicious. The grapefruit that's just fresh and zingy right there. The lemon drift brings those flavors of elderflower and the lemon essence, a little white tea, just a hint of honey. It's not too sweet. It's just the perfect balance. It's going to go great with our Brie and Prosciutto bites. Okay, so now it is time to make our little Brie and Prosciutto Kisses. Bisous. And because I did have red hot pepper jelly, I am using that, but definitely use fig jam if you want to. Leave the jam off entirely if you just want pure, rich, creamy, salty, melty Brie with crisp flowers of prosciutto on top. Divine. I am using a regular muffin tin today to shape the puff pastry shells that are going to envelop these delicious little bites, but you can definitely use a mini muffin tin if you prefer a more poppable size. And I'm just greasing them lightly with a bit of soft butter, just to make sure it all releases easily. Now at this point, take your thawed puff pastry, which should still be cold. Mine has sat out ever so slightly too long, which means I'm going to work very quickly to get it done. And you do want a nicely floured surface to work with so that you don't run the risk of it sticking to everything it touches. Go ahead and pull off one sheet. And all you're going to do at this point is lay it flat onto your floured surface. I am not going to roll my puff pastry out, but if you want a thinner, crispier experience, you definitely could. I want it to have enough thickness that it does have that like really nice fluffy kind of puff to it. That's personal preference, and I leave it to you. So just give it a little stretch just so that it's back to an even shape, and we are just going to cut into roughly, I would say 3-inch across squares that are going to tuck beautifully into our little muffin tins. And you do want to just press up against the wall, which creates a beautiful shape to nuzzle against your brie. And you are just kind of trying to form that little cup tin so that you get that maximum golden brown effect. You can see, I'm just going to work quickly through the remaining pieces of dough. One thing, by the way, if you have too much flour on your pieces, just kind of flop them back and forth like so. And if you sillily, like I did, make it too thin, just grab 2 pieces and lay them across each other, and you will form an even sturdier nest. There is no error with puff pastry, only more puff pastry. And then honestly, if you don't have 2 pieces to lay across each other, you can even just stretch the dough out a little bit, and that one will be slightly crispier than the others. Perfect. Okay, so now for the brie, a soft, creamy cow's milk cheese, very mild. And I like to do roughly 1-inch cubes, maybe a little more if you're feeling generous. 1.5 inches. Tuck each into your little nests here. Oh my goodness. I know what's about to happen, and it's gonna be good. Let's be honest. You guys know I am not a kitchen crafter. I really have basically 0 crafting abilities. So if I can make these prosciutto roses, which I'm going to show you how to make, look at how beautiful they are, and they bake up to crispy, golden, salty perfection, then you can too. Now, to jam or not to jam, this is entirely up to you. I have this awesome, pretty spicy, red hot chili pepper jelly to heat things up for you for Valentine's Day. But fig jam works amazing. Well, apricot jam, marmalade would be an interest. If you like marmalade, it'd be a great pairing here with the grapefruit in our Bubbly Greyhound drink. So I leave it to you, but just add a little dollop over top of your brie. You do not want to overstuff your cups because remember the puff pastry will puff. It will swell on its own. You want there to be room for it to grow, and you also don't want to make it too wet in the shell so that you won't get the lovely golden browning effect we are craving. So a little bit in each. Pop these into a 400-degree oven, probably 15 minutes. We are going to watch them and see how they're living. When they are richly golden brown and the smell is buttery and heavenly, and the pastry really has to be like completely golden brown so you can guarantee there's no still uncooked parts throughout, then we will pull it out and top it with our beautiful crisp prosciutto roses. Let's make some roses, and then I'll show you how to bake those off to be your crispy topper. Okay, so obviously this is a really simple recipe, and then we come to the crafting stage of the video, which is how to make gorgeous prosciutto roses. So now here's what you're gonna do. Get yourself a lovely piece of prosciutto. You will ultimately need 2. And do not waste, not that you would ever, the fatty white excellence here, because you're gonna want that. Starting with 1 sheet, you can just give it a little slice right down the center, and that's just creating more length for us to work through. But you'll see I'm kind of leaving this sort of critical linchpin area intact. And then you just start rolling tightly up and around at this sort of bend. You kind of just tuck as you go, so that you create the kind of layering effect here. Keep going around the bend, and the natural indentations of the meat are going to create what looks like a rosebud, a salty, fatty, porky rosebud. Here, now to create the layered look, that like fluffy kind of beautiful petals cascading around, you want a fresh and nice wide piece, and then you start to cascade and ruffle little extra layers of outer petals, and that is what gives you that very realistic looking, beautiful petally edge. It has the added benefit of creating 2 layers of texture in these little rosebuds, where the inside is a little richer and chewier, and the outside gets that wonderful, crisp, extra salty deliciousness. She's a crafter. Oh my gosh. Guys, you don't even know. You don't even know the joy I am feeling right now. A meditation of rolling prosciutto rosettes. If you don't think you have, enough meat to really do the slice effect, you don't actually need to. It's just to sort of create more layers of that interior wrapping that we're doing, and just to maximize the length of each piece of prosciutto. But if you don't think you have enough to do that with, you don't need to. And then once you get that interior flour made, then we just come back and kind of ruffle out these outer layers. And if you have this beautiful sort of fat element here with that white layer, go ahead and use that on the outside, because it creates a really nice layer of color definition too. Just looping around, looping, looping, looping. And guys, you're gonna eat these, so if they're not perfect, you don't need to stress. They're still gonna be delicious. All right, as soon as I'm done with this last guy, these are gonna go into a 400-degree oven, about 10 minutes till they're really nice, golden brown, crisp, crunchy, delightful. And right about that time, our puff pastry will have had a chance to cool ever so slightly, and then we'll put the whole thing together. Guys, you need to see what is happening in my oven right now. It is magnificent. Look at these little puff pastries, brie. While the puff pastry finish up their browning, the prosciutto florets are gonna go in. They need about 10 minutes. Oh, I can't wait to eat those. Okay, these puff pastry bites are looking so delicious. They are golden brown. The cheese has melted. The jam has collected and infused everything with so much delicious sweet heat. Now all we want to do is let them cool ever so slightly while the prosciutto finishes cooking up into our little rosebuds. I just wanted to test one to make sure it looked and tasted as good as it smells in here. First of all, check out how golden brown and crispy our puff pastry is. Obviously, that melty layer of cheese inside with the spicy pepper jelly throughout. This is like a cheater's way to Yorkshire pudding or a popover. Oh, the chili jam popover. We're going to make that next. Oh my gosh. Guys, the creaminess of the brie mellows out the heat of that spicy chili jam. Oh my gosh. So delicious. I actually love the way the jam kind of crusted on some pieces here, because it makes it really just like, it gives it that ever so slightly smoky flavor, and it just gives that nice little crisp bite. The puff pastry is so flaky and delicious. There's nothing wrong with this dish except that it's missing a prosciutto rose. The kids are gonna love these. My parents always made Valentine's Day really fun for us. We always had an all red and pink feast as a family. So like the starter course was always beets, which I showed you guys the beet and goat cheese crostini last year. The main was either smoked salmon or roasted salmon usually. And sometimes my mom would do this amazing roasted salmon pasta dish. That's incredibly delicious. We should definitely make that. And sometimes this is like the only time my mom would use food coloring. She would make pink mashed potatoes, roasted beets in the salad, And then dessert, we would have red velvet cake, sometimes Jello, lots of strawberries with whipped cream. It's so fun. It's so fun. Kids love romance. Let me just put it out there. They love to see you, the grown-up, having fun, making it special, and making it pink or red. All right, whatever. This is good. These guys are going in, and the rosettes are coming out. They are roasted, extra golden brown, crisp, gorgeous. Oh yeah. Look at them frying up in their own little pools of fat. That's always a good sign. So take a gorgeous rosette. It's so delicate and lovely. And just nuzzle it into a bed of hot cheese and puff pastry. Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me right now? Who said we weren't crafty? Okay, just keep working your way around, nuzzling in these gorgeous prosciutto roses, each into their own warm little cocoon. And we are in Valentine's Day appetizer heaven. Do you think you have ever seen something more divinely decadent looking to perfectly pair with our Bubbly Greyhound? Cheers. I made it beautiful for Valentine's Day. Scattered my rosebuds. It's now time to taste our glorious little wonders. I gotta tell you, when the prosciutto crisps up into this beautiful rose, it also concentrates its saltiness. So it's like this little salty, fatty, crispy bomb on top of sweet, tender, and slightly spicy from our chili jam underneath. Oh. The texture play happening here with this soft buttery puff pastry, the creamy cheese, the slight spice from our jam, and the salty crispy prosciutto is beyond. Oh my gosh, so good. And it's the perfect pairing with this Bubbly Greyhound, which has that lemon drift coming through with the grapefruit. So delicious. Valentine's Day appetizer and drink. Salt. Now what you do from here, I cannot predict, but I do have a dessert planned for you, so come back for that.